Are you a real estate investor looking to sharpen your skills or a newbie looking to become one? You're in the right place. Welcome to Where Should I Invest? Real Estate Investing in Canada with your host, Sarah Larby.
All right, Jared, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I'm really excited to learn all about you and get to know you better, and then, just have you share the experience that you've had with all the listeners. So first things first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm 41 years old. I'm 6'1", and I'm Aquarius. I like long walks on the beach. No, I'm totally kidding. I am 41. I do like long walks on the beach with my wife. They're fantastic. We go to the beach often. I'm 41 years old, and you know what? We've been investing in real estate since 2003. That's when we bought our first property. Today I have a large portfolio. I have 150 plus, and I renovate. I have a property management company. I got 2 great kids. My wife is amazing, and I don't know what else to tell you, I guess, but that's me.
Yeah, that's perfect. So what is your real estate strategy?
Well, I started out in 2003 with a strategy of buy and hold. Really that was the only strategy we implemented back in 2003. In 2008 was that global recession that came. So in 2003, I bought 3 properties. In 2004, I bought 8. In 2005, I bought 64, and then we just kept on buying. In 2008, the global recession came. I was buying the wrong properties. In 2008, the global recession came. By 2010, we were almost bankrupt. And in 2010, we went into a property management. We started up a property management company. But in 2011, we started flipping houses. So now I have my buy and hold, which I own lots, and we still do that. But then I also have this flipping business. So now I have 2 strategies, which is the buy and hold, and then the buy and reno and sell.
That's a great option. I mean, they always say you've got to have your nest egg strategy, which is in your case the buy and hold, and then some type of accelerator strategy to be able to collect some quicker cash to put down towards your nest egg.
Yeah, I would, I see, it's funny. I see a lot of rookie investors when they start, they kind of, they'll go listen to one person talk about buy and hold, and they go talk to another person about RTO, rent to own. And then they hear another person talk about renovating and another person agreeing for sales. And so then they actually, don't do anything because they get so overwhelmed with trying to learn all these different strategies. And, I looked at rent to owns. I looked at assumptions back in the day, which are now agreeing for sales. I've looked at, when I first started, was the buy, renovate, and refi and keep approach. And at the end of the day, we just did buy and hold, and until I had enough that I could call myself an expert on it. And then we started looking at other aspects or other revenue streams. But our buy and holds are what support those other revenue streams. And so my advice to investors is to pick one. Don't try to become experts at all 4. Don't even try to become an expert at 2. Just pick one and go.
Absolutely. No, that's great advice for sure. And get started too. Don't look at the shiny penny syndrome and then start learning about something else before you've pulled the trigger on something.
Well, that's what I mean. Man, your mind can talk you into something new and shiny all the time, right? And real estate works if you play the game properly. So just pick a lane, stay in the lane, pull the trigger, buy the right property. Whether it's a flip, you still have to buy the right property. A rent to own, you got to buy the right property. Buy and hold, you got to buy the right property. So just play the game, play one game, not 6 games or 2 games or whatever, right? Keep it simple.
Absolutely. Now, are your properties all in Edmonton?
No, we have, there's a little town up north. I live in Kelowna, BC, which is in the interior in Kelowna. My company's out of Edmonton, but we have about 120-ish up in Grand Prairie, which is a town about 4 hours north of Edmonton, a little oil and gas town. And then the rest are in Edmonton.
Okay. So somebody's probably listening right now and maybe they've got a few properties and they're looking at scaling up and they say, wow, Jared's got 150 plus properties. How do you go from 5 or 6 to 100 plus?
Well, what people got to realize is the game is different. Back in the day in 2005, when I bought all those properties, I bought my first, my wife and I. So I just want to put a caveat out there. When I say I mean we, as in my wife and I. So when we bought our we bought our first 13 properties on our own. So we got our own mortgages, we had our own money, we were refinancing properties because the market was going up like crazy. But when we got to 13, I got my first joint venture partner. And, that guy gave us $750,000. Our next JV gave us 800. Our next JV gave us 600. Our next JV gave us 400. Our next JV gave us 600. So we took on some really large amounts, financing of funds from JVs. So, but mortgage rules were different. You could walk into a bank and the bank would literally close their eyes and do you have a job? Yeah, okay, here's your mortgage, right?
Right.
Where nowadays it's a lot tougher. So first of all, I don't know why anyone would want 150 or 100. Like, that's just pure ego saying I want that many, when really the truth is you don't need that many to have a great life. 15, 12 to 17, 12 to 20, you can have an unbelievable life with that many. So I don't know why someone would want to scale to that. But going from 5 to 20 is equally as challenging this time, in the market as me going from 20 to 100 in 2005. It's all about buying the right property, dealing with, having the right brokers, having the right partners who are liquid and have excellent credit, and really setting up your system super, super tight that you're able to take on the properties without drowning the rest of your portfolio.
Okay, so basically the joint ventures provided the money, and then did they provide the financing ability as well?
Yeah. So back in the day, obviously you'd go get a mortgage, or they would go get a mortgage. The bank never knew about me. And where nowadays, if I have an interest in the property, I have to go get qualified with my joint venture partner. So the game has totally changed. So if you and I were to go do a deal, you go get the mortgage, I have an interest, I have to come qualify with you. So back in the day, it was a totally different game where, my JVs would come, they'd put up the money, they'd put up the financing, they'd get the financing, and I would do all the management, all the day-to-day operations. We would split the cash flow 50-50, which was a huge mistake that I did. We would split the cash flow 50-50, and then when we sold the house, they'd get all their money back plus 50% of the whatever was left.
Why was that a mistake?
I have all kinds of coaching clients now, and we teach this on a regular basis. The number one mistake, I did two crucial mistakes with my partners. One was I paid out cash flow. So when they came to me, we set the expectation at the start of, hey, listen, any cash flow, we're going to pay it out on a quarterly basis. So what was happening is we kept on draining the account of this cash flow. We'd keep a little bit reserved, but would keep on draining it out. Well, fast forward to 2008, this is back in 2005. In 2008, when the market dropped, vacancy in Alberta went from 0% to 18%. Rents were dropping 20 to 30% overnight. So all of a sudden, all that cash flow that we accumulated in those good times was all spent. I took my money, put it back into my portfolio. My partners were taking their money and buying condos, buying boats, taking trips, stuff that they couldn't get back. So by 2010, when we're doing $17,000, $30,000 cash calls every quarter, now all of a sudden they have no money. Whereas if we kept that cash in the bank, we would never have had to do a cash call because we would have had a massive surplus to ride out the downtime. The second mistake I did, because I said I made two, and I know you were just about to ask me about that. But the second mistake I did is we refinanced the properties every 5 years. So with my partners, I didn't do it with my portfolio, but with my partners, we were refinancing the properties every 5 years. Once again, giving our partner 50% and then us keeping 50%. Now my partners would go off and buy stuff when I would go redeploy it back into my portfolio. And so every 5 years, we're always maxed out. Our service to debt ratio was always at the peak with no mortgage buy down. So it always hurt cash flow.
That's really interesting. So if somebody were to do it now in 2019 and they were doing their first JV, how would you suggest they structure it and position it?
I would advise them, and actually funny, I just did a workshop in Edmonton on this. And what I would advise them to do is do your standard 50-50 split. You put up the JV puts up the money and the financing. I do all of the property management, day-to-day operations. And all cash flow is put back into the bank account and it stays there. At the end of 5 years, a portion of it, up to 50% of it, can get paid out. The remaining 50% gets split into two ways. One, 50% of that 50% stays in the account, And then the remaining 50% of that 50%, so really 25%, gets put onto a mortgage to start buying down the debt of a property. That is how it's structured today. 50-50 cash flow split. Partner gets their money back at the sale. The other thing I would do is I would encourage any of your listeners to do joint venture partnership terms of 10 to 12 years versus 5 years. 5-year terms are not enough, because if you at the end of 5 years you're in a down cycle, you could have some problems if your partner's lost the money.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, because I'm actually in the process of going through one, and we were talking about 5 years. Is there a way at the 5-year mark? So now I'm starting to rethink it, obviously, but
I'm going to tell you what to do.
Right, but is there a way so that we could say, okay, after 5 years we can then redo another 5 years? Like, could you structure that?
Yes, but here's the problem with that, Sarah, is you don't know where your life or their life is going to be in 5 years. So if in 5 years they've lost their job, they want to retire or slow down, they want to buy a place in Phoenix or in Mexico or wherever, you guys go out on East Florida. If their world changes, because you're obviously young, like I don't know how old you are, but you got to be, you're young, you're younger than I am. And so now and if you have a partner who's in their 50s or 55, 60, you're at two totally different worlds, two totally different views of things. So now if in 5 years they want out and the market drops, now there's a problem. Or the market's going like this and you're not ready to exit, now we have a problem, or you guys have a problem.
Right.
So what I advise all my students to do is to do 10 to 12-year terms with the revisit of the property at the 8-year mark. So at 8 years, if you and I are partners, at the 8-year mark, I can, as the managing partner, will call you up and say, listen, Sarah, it's been 8 years. I've done a market analysis of the property. We bought it at 400. It's now worth 500. I know we have a term of 10 to 12 years. I think now's a really good time to sell the house. Let's take our money off the table. Let's not wait 10 to 12 years. Now, if you go up to a joint venture partner and have that conversation at the 8-year mark, they're going to love you. They will probably also redeploy that money back to you as more deals. So now you can sell one house and buy 2 houses just because you are operating at a high level of integrity. Or the other scenario is, hey, Sarah, listen, it's the 8-year mark. I've done analysis of the property. We bought it for $600,000. It's worth $625,000. Our rents are really strong, so on and so on. I just wanted to let you know that we're running well, and we're going to hold out for probably 12 years now. So it's all about managing the expectations of the joint venture partner by having clear communications of what the flight path is of that property or the joint venture partnership.
That's really interesting. So now what about a corporation, or what type of, structure? And I know it's very hard to say, should you incorporate, should you not incorporate, everything is different. But when you're doing it as a joint venture, what does that look like? Of course, there's a partnership agreement, but what else do we need to know?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, you need your joint venture agreement, your partnership agreement, USA. I have USAs with some partners. And at the end of the day, all of my properties are in a joint or in a corporation. So if you and I did a partnership, you didn't have a corporation, I had a corporation, my corporation would go into a partnership with you as an individual. And when I did my joint venture, it all depends on how many properties you're going to buy. Back in the day, I could have 50 properties in my personal name. Well, maybe not that many, but I could probably have 20 properties in my personal name. Today, banks, after you get 3 or 4 or 5, they want you to be corporated now. So, it all depends on the situation. If you're just doing 1 or 2, you can probably keep it personal, keep it in their name. If you're getting bigger, I would probably incorporate. But obviously you have to have legal. I talked at this workshop we did on the weekend, someone said that they drafted up their own document, and it was took half of a page on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I'm like, half a page? He's like, oh yeah, everything was bullet form. It was tight. I'm like, dude, it's not tight, because what if someone dies? How do you exit? What if someone has, they get divorced? They both die, or, you and I are on a trip and we die. My JVs are long, they're stacks of pages.
Yeah, I mean, that should be the standard, is, have all the details. Now, how do you put them together? Do you go through with the partner, the JV first, everything that you want on paper, then you go to your lawyers and you have that drafted? Like, how does that work with you guys?
Well, nowadays I just have a standard joint venture agreement. It's like, we've done so many. I'm not looking for, I haven't taken on a joint venture partner in probably 5 years. I'm not looking for JVs anymore. But back in the day, what we did is, we'd sit down and would have a discovery, because really, to be honest, the mistake people make is they take on the wrong partner. So people go out and take on a partner just because they have money and they think that's the only way they're going to get a house. And then they're fearful that if they don't take this deal or this person, no one else will come. And to be honest, most people shouldn't be married together. That's why not everyone's marrying everybody, which is the same view in taking on a partner. And so what I do is I have a discovery. So we'll sit down, husband and wife, me and Krista, because that's how this works. And it's, okay, what are your intentions? What are your values? What do you need, Sarah? What do you need with the cash flow? What do you want to do with this cash flow? And if you come back and say, well, I need it to live. Oh, okay, well, why? Because I need to know why. Because if you're dependent on this cash flow and something happens to the market, I'm screwed. So are you, but I'm screwed because I'm not. And if I'm building my portfolio with different values and intentions than you are as my partner, we don't gel. And if we don't gel, I can't do business with you.
Yeah.
So, like really, to be honest, the joint venture thing is just, what happens if there's a divorce? What happens if one person wants to sell? Describe the shotgun clause. How do you value the properties? Like, that's what that's about. But for me, all that stuff is nothing if our values aren't in alignment. And that's gut. That's how you answer the questions. That's what you want to do with the money. That's how, what's your age? What's your flight path of retirement? All that stuff has to come into play before we even get to a joint venture partner deal.
Right. No, absolutely. That's really good and important insight for sure. So you said that you're not doing the JVs anymore. What are you doing these days?
So right now I'm buying down my properties. I'm trying to buy down my portfolio as much as I possibly can. I'm 41 years old. I want 70% of my portfolio paid off, clear title in the next 5 to 7 years. So right now last year we flipped about 18 properties. So what we do in Edmonton is we buy 1,200 square foot bungalows. We renovate them top to bottom, new everything. And then we legalize them. We put a legal basement suite. And then we turn around and sell it. So it's turnkey. So we buy it, renovate it, rent it, sell it. So the day someone buys it is the day they start making money on it. And full warranty, free property management, because I have a property management company. So then what I do is on every house that I sell, I take 50% of the profit and then I put it onto a mortgage. So what I'm doing now is I'm targeting 6 properties where we're actively hammering these mortgages in a mass amount to get them paid off. So once those 6 are done, I'm going to take all the rent and cash flow from those 6 plus all the 50% profit that we're putting onto it. And then I'm going to take all that and I'm going to go target another 6. Now I should have these 6 paid off in a year and a half, 2 years. The next 6 I'll have paid off in a year. Then I'll take those 12 and I'll go target another 6. That third 6 for 18, I should have 18 paid off in 6 months after that, and so on and so on and so on. So that's what I'm doing.
So what's your ultimate goal with real estate?
Oh, good question. I get asked this all the time, to be honest. Right now, it's about teaching people how to play the game. And, I wish I had a binder. I don't have my binder. But my wife and I have a thing called creating limitless lives through real estate. And our life in 2003, we never would have expected it to be what it is today. And looking back on how I was playing the game from 2003 to 2010, and how I played the game from 2010 to 2019, if I was playing it the way I played it the second half, in the first half, I would have been retired in 10 years. But I made a lot of mistakes as I watched many people do today. So my main goal right now is to 2 things. 1, to teach people to play the game to win all the time, because they don't know what they don't know. All they know is what's in front of them and all the noise that they see or hear from other people teaching. And more often than not, the people that are teaching aren't actually buying themselves, or they've done something catastrophic and they've had massive failure in their world, but they've learned some lessons, but they've never been actually able to redeploy those lessons to get success. So they're teaching based off of the mistakes they made, not by the mistakes and corrections and success that they've had. Big difference.
Yeah, that is.
See it all the time. And so that's one thing that we're after, is to teach people. And then the second thing really is also all about leaving a massive legacy for my family. So if anything ever does happen to me or my wife, my kids and their kids and their kids and their kids are now taken care of. Good answer, huh?
It's a great answer. I mean, because it's not about real estate, right? It's what real estate does for you and what your goals are. Because, you know, sometimes people are like, I love real estate, and like, you can love it, but ultimately, you know, there's a reason that we're all doing this. There's a reason behind it. There's an ultimate bigger goal than just acquiring properties, you know?
Yeah, you know, like, all honesty, when I first started out, Sarah, it was a game. You know, I was playing to win. Anyone who knows me knows I play to win at everything, and I don't do anything unless I'm going to be awesome at it. And when I started buying real estate, like, man, I bought 64 properties. Think about that, 64 properties in 1 year. In one 12-month term, I bought 64 properties. I had a full-time job. I was a personal trainer. I was making over 6 figures as a personal trainer. And I was working full-time, so like 6, 7 in the morning to 4, 5 at night. And that year, that was 2005. I had my first kid in 2005, and I bought 64 properties.
How did you do that?
It was all ego. You know, I was just doing, and I just worked. And we had our first kid. I didn't know how to be a dad, and all I thought was I just had to go provide, and, you know, stability for the family and make money based off all the patterns that I had as a child. And the truth is, I just needed to be a dad. And I spent 3 years, the next 5 years, diving deep into my portfolio that I missed out a ton of stuff with my family. And, you know, so the mistake that investors make is they make it about real estate. They make it about, you know, so then ego kind of kicks in, and then they start chasing deals. When the reality is, if you play the game one property at a time, buy one a year for the next 10 years, at the average price, I don't know if the average price is out there, but let's call it $800,000. I know it's really high. If you buy one property at, say, $800,000 a year for the next 10 years, you have $8 million worth of real estate. And like, that's pretty good. You have $8 million worth of real estate in 25 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is good. I mean, I don't think many of us out here buy $800,000 properties. I would say they're probably between like 300 and 500. I mean, perfect. Every city is kind of different, but
yeah, totally. It's the same, you know, same thing in Edmonton. Like, I'm buying properties for anywhere from 300 to 450. Cash flow is anywhere from 300 to 1,000. And, you know, so you use the number of $400,000 per property. You buy one a year. Just, you know, you steal in slow motion. Like, that's the saying, steal in slow motion in this game. One a year. Keep the game really simple, no stress. You're not going to disrupt your life. One a year. And in 10 years, you have $4 million. And in 20 to 25 years from the first one, you're going to have $4 million with no appreciation at all. Don't even factor in appreciation. Now you factor in appreciation. Now you have $8 million. You want to, and then here's the funny thing, or here's the best part about the game. If you bought one a year for 5 years, you know, it's pretty achievable, pretty doable.
Yeah.
In year number 5, you could actually go for the next 5 years buying 2 a year if you play the game right. So instead of having 10 properties after year 10, you now have 15 or 20 properties after year 10, because it actually gets easier as the game goes along. If you buy the right property in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It does. Like, it was really hard even for us when we first started to buy our first one, because it was literally, we were saving to put the down payment down. And then same thing with the second one, we didn't have enough to refinance to use towards the next down payment, but it does definitely get easier. You become more knowledgeable. You're able to get deals.
Here's another strategy, Sarah. If you have a plan to buy 5 houses over the next 5 years, okay? Your first house, do a 5-year term. Second house, do a 4-year term. Third house, do a 3-year term. Because in year number 5, this house should have been bought down $50,000. This house would have been bought down, mortgage pay down $40,000. This mortgage would have been bought down $30,000. So you're going to have 30, 70, 50. That's $130,000 of cash if you just refinance them.
Yeah.
So that $130,000 will allow you to buy 1, maybe 2 more houses in year 5. Like, that's how you play the game. It's like, buying real estate is like chess. You just don't buy a house and keep it for 25 years. You know, you buy a house and after 8 years, you reevaluate it. Okay, I might sell it. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell that house. I'm going to go buy 2. Oh, it's gone up so much, I'm going to sell that one and buy 3. You don't hang on to a house for 25 years. You do that for your own house. You don't do that for a rental.
Yeah, no, it's a great way of thinking. And even just the fact that you do a 5-year, a 4-year, and a 3-year, I mean, that's a great piece of advice, because then you can refinance every single year and you can pull out money rather than being stuck and then doing it all in the same year.
Or now you can sell. You can sell those three. You can sell those three properties, pay no mortgage penalties, sell those three properties, cash out, pull all your money back, sell those three properties, and buy 5 properties. Like, that's what I mean. Like, this stuff there is not taught. No one teaches this stuff. I play this game every single day this way.
I think that's the problem is, you know, the system, the financial system, the banks, I mean, they really just don't have our best interest at the end of the day. Like, in order to find this stuff out, it's through just figuring it out ourselves or getting a coach or, you know, really having to find that knowledge. It's not, you know, the mutual funds that everyone will tell you, oh, get this mutual fund. But like, anyways, I could go on and on and on.
No, listen, go on my Facebook page. And about a year ago, I put some posts about finance stocks versus real estate. I did a big comparison. And man, did I piss off some finance guys. Like, you know, like, here's the thing. I sit down with finance guys all the time. They all want my money. And it's the simple thing. Great. Show me what you've done. Show me your portfolio, show me how you've made all this $1 million, and show me how you're going to make it for me. And I just found a guy recently who did that, and he was able to do it, and he has my money now.
Oh, okay.
You sit down with me in real estate and say, hey, I want to do this. Great. Here's my portfolio. Here's how much I make. Here's how much I pay down. Here's everything. Like, that's why, you know, that's why I can give advice like this, because I'm actually literally doing it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You know, the other thing too that I find is that really nobody tells you that you can put your money into like Olympia Trust or Community Trust. I think that's everyone. And you can actually get like way more. Of course, there's risks to everything, but you know, you can loan out your money and be a money lender for like 10 to 15% instead of leaving it in a GIC at 1% or even a mutual fund where you're paying management fees and you're paying all this crap. So
I borrow money all the time from people for anywhere from, you know, depending on how much they give, 7 to 10% all the time.
Yeah.
And I use it for my flips. You know, that's how we finance our properties. I got clients that are 60 years old. They don't want to buy real estate. They thought they did. They just want to make a steady couple grand a month. Okay, well, use this. We'll secure it against the house. It's all properly done by my lawyer. It's a loan, and it's cash secured against the property. We have caveats against the property at land title, and I'll pay you your $2,800 a month. Great. Yeah.
It is short term. I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it's not something that it doesn't work as well for a buy and hold if you're planning on for the long term. But if you're flipping or you're doing a type of BRRRR strategy, like you're flipping and you're holding, and you know, you don't want to go to the bank first, you just want to use private money. I mean, we did that this summer on a flip and hold, and so we just got private money at 10%. Did the renovations. 3-4 months later, went to the bank, refinanced it, paid the money lender back. So, I mean, the only downside I see is, as a lender myself, my money is in and out every 3 months. So I just need 6 months or so, and then I just have to find a new home for it. That's all.
See, like in my world, I don't have that problem. Like, people borrow us money, you know, $500,000-$600,000 at a time, and we'll hold it for 2 years, and I'll pay them their 7 to 10% for the, because we, you know, last year I did 18 properties.
Right.
We flipped 18 properties last year. This year we're going to do 15 or 16. So we're doing such volume that I always need that money. I always need that money.
So as a money lender, they should look for the people that are doing a lot of volume, so their money's out there for 2-3 years at a time. Because I have money I'm lending, so you know, that would be your advice.
Well, I don't give money advice at all. I'll give real estate advice. I you know, because money, it's so different. People view it differently than, you know, my dad, for example, would want the short term. He'd want it back. Whereas I have other people that don't want it back. You know, it's such a personal preference. You know, do you like a dark tall guy, or do you like a skinny white guy, or, you know, like light haired guy? Like, what? Right?
Right. Okay. No, that's good. That's fair. So before we started the show, I was looking at your background, and there was some cool pictures, and they're actually your kids' goals for this year, and I think that's awesome. So I just want to ask you about that. So your kids, they seem like they're, you know, they're around you when you're talking about real estate. You guys are doing all these awesome things. You know, how do you get everyone on board going in the same direction?
Yeah, you know, that's a good question. That actually started back in 2003, because before we had kids, my wife and I were already on the same page. You know, like when we do our coaching, with our clients, it's husband and wife. It has to be both. And if it can't be one or the other. And a lot of times we have people come to us because the coaching we do is my wife and I together. It's together. And my wife does life coaching with the couple. I do business and real estate coaching with the couple. And, so that was actually values that we instilled in our kids from the day they were born. And not knowing we were doing it, but that's where it all started. Great question, by the way. Like our kids come home and they see us working. They see us home all the time now. But back in the day, they'd see us working. They'd see us building the business. They'd see us at their hockey. They'd see us, waking up with them and taking them swimming. Like we were always around them, but they also know that when it's time to work, it's time to work. And, it was tough back in the day because I didn't really have the boundaries around my phone and the business and stuff like that. Whereas now we have the structure to support it for the most part. I'm pretty good. But our kids love it. They're right into it.
That's great. That's awesome. Good.
Yeah.
So the next part of the podcast is our lightning round. So every guest gets the same 5 questions. Are you ready to answer?
Oh. I don't know what they are, but let's do it.
All right. Question number 1. What is your favorite real estate investing book ever?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay. All right. Question number 2. What is your favorite podcast?
Yours.
Okay. Other than mine.
Oh, honestly, I like a lot of Tony Robbins. I love listening to Tony Robbins. Right now I have a business coach out of LA, a life coach out of LA called John Wineland. So I listen to a lot of his stuff right now.
Okay. All right, great. So number 3, what do you do for fun aside from real estate?
With my kids, boat, we're always on the boat. Like I love my boat.
Awesome. Okay. That's great. What kind of boat do you have?
I had a 2015 210 Ski Nautique. I just traded it in for a 2019 G23. So it's an amazing boat. Love it.
Speedboat?
Oh yeah. We surf and wake surf and all that stuff. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Is it like really old of me that I really want a pontoon?
Oh, yes. You've aged yourself a little bit. You must be an old soul. So
I like the speedboats, but I just, there's something about those pontoon boats. I don't know.
No, once you get a wake boat, like the wake surfing, Sarah, it's awesome. It's low impact. My wife and I go out there, we hang out on the boat. If you follow me on Facebook, start watching. It's almost March. So come middle of May, you'll see me pictures. We work from our boat. We'll take our laptops, our phones, and we work from our boat for like 8 hours while the kids are in school.
Nice.
It's awesome. Yeah.
That's great. Amazing. So number 4, if you lost all of your money and your assets tomorrow, how would you start again?
I would start buying real estate again. I would go find joint venture partners. I'd build it through JVs again.
Okay. All right. And last question, number 5, if somebody has $50,000 and they want to get started, how would you recommend they spend it?
Ooh. So $50,000 could buy you a $200,000 property. If they only had $50,000, I would advise them to go get a coach who has transacted hundreds of properties and learn how to buy real estate with joint ventures or with little to no money. Okay.
All right. Great answer. So where can listeners find you if they wanted to reach out and know more about you?
You can go to my website, www.tiltgroup.ca. Facebook, I love social media. Tilt Group, which is our Facebook. Instagram is the Jared Hope, and Twitter, Hope Properties, or Tilt Properties. Sorry, Hope Properties is my holding company. So it's all Tilt Property Group.
Perfect. Awesome. Any final last words of advice for the listeners?
Like going back to how we opened up the call is just stay focused on one approach versus trying to learn many approaches. Be very, very careful with large groups. Large groups, you got to understand when you go to these large groups, the events, I put them on too, the speakers can only talk for 30 minutes at a time. So you can't take what they're saying as the gospel, and because you have to dig a little bit deeper into actually what they're saying, because they can't go too deep. It's impossible. So just be careful what you hear, and don't don't take it for face value. Well, take it for face value, and then always look what's behind the curtain to see how it works or how you could implement it. And always ask for help. Ask for help.
Absolutely. On that note, thank you so much, Jared, for being on Where Should I Invest? It was great talking to you, and we could keep talking for hours, but so much insight. But thank you so much for being on the show.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out.
Thanks so much for listening to Where Should I Invest with your host, Sarah Larby. Make sure to listen in next time. We'll catch you on the next episode of Where Should I Invest?